Angular course content. Yeah, this is how Angular course content looks like. We'll start with Angular installation. We'll understand how Angular and Angular JS are different. Okay, so when Angular was started initially, we had Angular JS. We used to call it as Angular 1, right? So how Angular and Angular JS are different, those things will be discussed. We will understand what is Angular CLI. Using Angular CLI, how can we create a new project? How can we create a new component? How can we create directives, services? Those things will be covered as part of Angular CLI. Then we'll understand how to create components, how to create modules, how to use existing modules. Then we'll understand something called data binding. Under data binding, again, we have a lot of things. We have property binding, interpolation binding, style binding, class binding, two-way binding, and all. Those things will be discussed. We'll understand what is view encapsulation. We'll discuss all the inbuilt directives we have in Angular. We'll also discuss how to create custom directives, pipes, custom pipes, how component communication happens in Angular. If we have multiple components, how can we pass data from parent component to child component to parent component, one sibling to another sibling? Those things will be discussed. We'll understand lifecycle methods or lifecycle hooks. We'll understand what is service, how dependency injection work. We'll discuss HTTP client. This is one of the most important point. Here, Angular uses REST endpoints to fetch the data from database and render in the UI. So using HTTP client, how can we fetch data from database? That part will be discussed here. We'll understand HTTP interceptors. We'll discuss observables. As part of observables, we will discuss how to use RxJS library, and RxJS library has a lot of inbuilt functions like fork join, merge map, switch map, concat map, adjust map. Those things will be discussed with real-time examples. Form handling, routing. Using routing, we can develop single page applications. Lazy loading. Then how to manage the state of any application using NGRX. This is similar like Redux in React. The way we use Redux in React to manage the state of our application. The same way here in Angular, we have something called NGRX. Using NGRX, we can manage the state of our Angular application. Then we'll understand how to build and deploy our project into a server. We'll understand Angular material. This Angular material is similar like Bootstrap. It has a lot of components like table component, image component, card component, lot of components we have. We'll understand how to use them. Then we'll discuss unit testing also. This is how Angular course content looks like. Yeah, these are the training highlights. The training is designed for both beginners and experienced candidates. If you have a question in your mind, I'm a beginner, I don't know JavaScript, will I be able to cope up? Yes, you will be able to cope up because we will start from the scratch. If you are a experienced candidate and you have a question in your mind, I already know JavaScript. So, will this training be helpful for me as well? Yes. So the depth of JavaScript that we are going to discuss, you will feel like, okay, all these things are there in JavaScript. I don't know even. Okay, you just attend next 4-5 sessions. You will be able to understand what content we are discussing. Okay, then you decide. There will be hands-on exercise for every topic. As soon as the topic gets over, there will be hands-on exercise. I will provide real-time examples on every topic. There will be assignments for every topic. Once we complete one topic, let's say we completed array, there will be one assignment. We are done with string, there will be assignment. We are done with a topic called data binding, there will be assignment. Then we will have one mock interview at the end of the training. I will help you to prepare your resume if you need any help. There will be placement assistance from Naresh IT. When I say placement assistance, once you are done with that training, you are eligible to sit in any interview that happens in Naresh IT. So once your training is over, if there is any opening going on, and interview is going on in Naresh IT for Angular, you will be eligible to attend those interviews. Class recordings will be there for at least 6 months to 1 year. Okay. I will provide all the notes in Google Classroom and GitHub. Yes. So with this, I'll take a pause, and if you have any question, I will take a few questions before we start today's session. Do you have any question? If you have any question, please raise your hand. I will allow you to speak up. Anyone has any question? Yeah, Hari Krishna. Okay. One second. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir.
Yes.
In this course content, TypeScript also will be covered, right? All the basics.
So what happens when we discuss the topics from JavaScript like array, string, all these things when we discuss from JavaScript, right? Those things we don't have to repeat again in TypeScript, right? So only syntactical differences will be there. What is the delta difference we have between JavaScript and TypeScript? That part I will discuss along with Angular.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay. Anyone else has any other question? Yes, Karthik, please go ahead.
In project development, like including all the concepts once we complete all of them.
Yeah, including all these concepts, at the end we will develop one small application with the login screen, with a landing screen where we will have a search bar. We can search products. We will list down the products. From there, we will be able to go to the product details page. From there, we will be able to go to the checkout page. From there, we can log out. Okay. This
Yeah.
kind of one small application we will develop by using all these concepts.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Shobit. Yes, please go ahead.
Course. Hello.
Yes,
Hi. Am I audible?
you are.
So, what is the duration of this course?
You joined late.
Yes.
Yeah. The course duration is going to be for next 2 months. 1 week here and there might happen. Yeah, it's planned for 2 months.
Okay. And we can implement the Angular with ASP or any other language.
It's Node.js in the backend.
Node.js with the backend.
Yes.
Okay.
Is my voice too low? Somebody is testing in the chat, or I'm audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
I'm audible, right?
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Anyone else has any other question, or we are good to start? Okay. It looks like nobody has question. We can continue. Fine. Let me quickly recap what we discussed yesterday. Yes. Yesterday we were discussing what is web development stack and where this Angular fits in web development stack. Correct. So whenever we talk about web development, in simple term, it is called website development. When we develop a website, that is nothing but called web development. Yes. So when we talk about web development, what all components are required? We need components like front end, back end, database, and server. What is the use of front end component? Using front end technologies, we can develop the user interface of a web application. If we want to develop any website, we need a user interface using which users will be interacting with your application. The user interface which users are using to interact with your application, that user interface can be developed using front end technologies. And what all things we have under front end technologies? We have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, either React or Angular or Vue.js. Okay, then what we can do with front end? With front end, what we can do? We can develop the user interface of a web application. If we talk about Flipkart, the UI of this Flipkart page, this logo, this search box, this login button, this carousel, these cards, all these things are developed using front end technologies. What all things we have under front end? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, either React or Angular, one of the front end JavaScript framework. Okay. What we can do with front end, we understood. Now, what we cannot do with front end? Yes, front end doesn't have the ability to go and talk to database. Front end doesn't have the ability to go and talk to database. Simply we can say front end cannot fetch the data from database, right? Front end cannot fetch the data from database. Let it be JavaScript, let it be Angular, let it be React. None of them have the ability to fetch the data from database directly. In that case, we need one more component, that is backend. What backend does? Backend has the ability to go and fetch the data from database and return it to the front end. So whatever, when we go and search Skybag, whatever data we see here, the look and feel, design and all these things are done using front end, maybe Angular or React. But whatever data we see, This item has price 1749. Its actual price is 4450. It is running with a 60% off. This data come from database. And how the data come from database to front end? Front end directly can go and fetch the data from database? No. Front end takes help of one of the backend language. That backend language fetches the data from database and gives it to front end. Okay. So what all backend technologies we have in the market? We have Java, we have .NET, we have Python, we have PHP, we have Node.js. By using either one of these programming languages, we can develop REST endpoints, we can develop APIs. Those APIs will be consumed by front-end technologies to fetch the data from database and render in the UI. And once these three components are ready, front-end, back-end, database, we need a server to deploy our application so that people across the world, they can access our application 24/7. Yes. So whatever we discussed in the last slide, the same thing is written here. Using front end, what we can do, we can develop the user interface of a web application. To develop the user interface of a web application, what all things we need? We need HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular or React. Why backend? Front end cannot fetch data from database. What backend will do? Backend is used for writing processing logic in a web application. Or we can simply say backend helps to fetch the data from database. What all backend technologies we have in the market? We have Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Node.js. What is database? Database is used for data storage. Whatever data we see in our web application should be stored in database. Whatever data we see in our web application should be stored in a database. That database can be Oracle database, can be MySQL, can be MongoDB, can be anything else also. Then we need a server to deploy our application so that we can make our application live. So here, what is the role of Angular? Angular is used to develop the user interface of a web application. So mainly we can say Angular is used in front-end development. For what? For developing user interfaces of a web application. Correct. I hope you got an idea what is Angular and where we use it. Do we use Angular for backend development? No. Do we use Angular for database? No. What is this? This is a JavaScript framework. We are using this Angular framework for developing user interface of a web application. Okay. So let us talk about front-end technologies. Under front-end technologies, we have these all things: HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, Angular. Let's understand the importance of each programming language or each section. What is HTML? Using HTML, what we can do? We can develop the content of a page. We can add content to a web page. What do you mean by content? The content can be paragraph, image, table, list, audio, form, video. So whenever we go to a page, what all things we do see? We see input boxes, we see buttons, we see carousels, we see images, we see audio, video, table. So adding the content into a web page can be done with the help of HTML. Why CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It is used for styling. If we want to add styling to a web page, we need CSS. What we can do with CSS? With CSS, we can change the color, we can change the border, width, height, background color, positioning. All these things can be controlled with the help of CSS. Next, Bootstrap. Why do we need Bootstrap? Bootstrap has a lot of predefined CSS classes. By using those lot of predefined CSS classes, when we start using predefined CSS classes, it makes our life easier. We don't have to write lot of own CSS. We don't have to write our own CSS much. Very little own CSS we have to write. Most of the things we will get it from Bootstrap itself. For example, if you want to create buttons, if you want to create buttons with background color green, background color blue, background color red, we have to write our own CSS. Bootstrap example. Okay, give me a second. Suppose we want to have a button. If we write a button here, simple button btn1. This is a simple button. Now, to add some styling to this button, we have to write our own CSS. But if we import Bootstrap package to our program, there are a lot of predefined class button. As soon as we go and add a class called btn, you will see something. Do you see some effect? Then if you go and add button success, it has a background color green, cursor pointer background color green, text color white. All these things are already written in these class names btn success. If we want a button with background color red, we just have to use the class danger, right? We don't have to write our own CSS. We will get a lot of inbuilt CSS. Okay, that is where Bootstrap comes into picture. Okay. Also, when we start using Bootstrap, we can achieve responsiveness. You develop a page, that page will look good in all the devices. Let it be mobile, let it be tablet, let it be desktop. Correct. Next, why JavaScript? JavaScript is there to add behavior to our web page. Suppose you added lot of buttons in your web application. When you go and click those buttons, nothing is happening. Why nothing is happening? Because there is no behavior added to those buttons. There is no JavaScript code added for them. Yes, we know JavaScript is used for other things also. JavaScript is used for DOM manipulation, form validation, fetching data from API and other things. But in a single word, if we have to explain someone what is JavaScript and why are we using JavaScript, JavaScript is used to manage the behavior of our web application. Okay. Then why Angular or React? Why are we using Angular or React like frameworks for developing our front-end applications? Yes. Yes, this Angular, React and all, they are JavaScript frameworks. When we say they are JavaScript frameworks, lot of inbuilt functions we do get. Creating the project is not a headache now. You just run a command and a project will be ready in a minute. You want to create a component, just run a command, it will give you a component. You want to create a pipe, just run a command, it will give you a pipe. Yeah, they are mainly used for rapid application development. If we can develop one application in 6 months by using JavaScript, the same application can be developed in 2 or 3 months when we start using Angular or React. They have CLI, command line interface. Using command line interface, we can quickly create a project, we can quickly create a component and all. They have a template system. Angular, React, they have a template system and they allow us to write if else condition in HTML file itself. If I show you quickly how if else for looks like in Angular, this is how for loop looks like in Angular. This is how switch case looks like in Angular. This is how if else looks like in Angular. So we can write if else condition to display either this paragraph or this paragraph based on a condition. But we cannot write if else condition in plain HTML. In JavaScript we can write, but not in plain HTML. But Angular's HTML, React HTML, they allow us to write if else, switch case, for loop, all these things in HTML file itself. Because of that, we are saying they have a template system. We can create reusable components. We can create a component and that component can be used at many places. Synchronization between state and view. If you declare any variable in your Angular component, that variable value will be always in sync with the UI. So when we go and run our application, okay, we are able to print Sachin Tendulkar here. Suppose we have a variable name whose value is Sachin Tendulkar. We can easily print this variable in our HTML just by using this syntax. Just by using this syntax, we can bind a variable in our HTML. We don't have to say document dot get element by id div1 dot inner HTML is equal to name. We don't have to do all those things. Yes. So these are the benefits we get when we start using Angular or React like frameworks. We get routing functionality out of the box. We get form validation out of the box. We get better Ajax support. The list doesn't end here, but yes, these are few of the most important points because of which we are using Angular or React like libraries for developing our web applications. Okay, next. Yeah, before I go to the next technical slide, I have few common questions. Let me quickly go through those questions. Most of the people they ask like, what is the course duration? The course duration is 2 months. What is the class timing? 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. How many days we will have sessions? 6 days, Monday to Saturday. Only Sunday will remain off. What is the prerequisite to join this training? HTML and CSS. You should have basic knowledge of HTML and CSS to continue this training. What is the mode of the training? Do we have offline class for this? No, this is only online. How many demo sessions will be there? 4 to 5 demo sessions will be there. Will you repeat all these things again once the actual class starts? No, these things will not be repeated when actual class starts. Demo means without registering, without paying the fee also you will be allowed to join the sessions. What is the fee to join this? I think 5,000 for live sessions, 8,000 for live sessions and recording. Will you provide notes? Yes, notes will be provided in GitHub. Will you provide recording? Yes, recording will be given. Only for them, those who opts the second option. We are not allowed to speak up. So is it like we will be always on mute? No, you will not be always on mute. Once the demo session ends, you are allowed to speak up anytime. I am a I'm a full stack Java student. Is this course free for me? This course is free for no one, not for Java full stack students, .NET full stack students, Python full stack students. This is not for full stack students. This is a separate course. Okay. So let us understand. Yeah, we understood that to develop any web application, we need HTML, we need CSS, we need Bootstrap, we need JavaScript. Along with all these things, we need one JavaScript framework that can be either Angular or React or Vue.js or Knockout.js. There are many JS frameworks we have, but the most competitive ones are Angular and React. So let us understand how React and Angular are different, how Angular is better than React, okay? When to use Angular and when to use React. How do we decide for what kind of application we go with React, for what kind of application we go with Angular? Please try to understand. Yes, React is a library. It is there in the market since 2013. Whereas Angular is a framework. It is there in the market since 2009. What do you mean by library and what do you mean by framework? A library will have only set of a library will have only set of inbuilt functions inside it. Okay, a library will have only a set of inbuilt functions inside it, and a library will do only one job. If we talk about Bootstrap, Bootstrap is a library which helps us to use predefined components like table, card, modal and all. What is Movement.js? What is Movement.js? Movement.js is a library which helps us to play with date and time. Okay, nothing else. It has a speciality. It will help us to play with only date and time related things. We can call it as a library. What is Lodash? Lodash is a library. Using Lodash library, we can play with array, list, collections, right? What is Lodash? A modern JavaScript utility library for to play with list and array kind of data. What is D3JS? D3JS is a library which is used for graph and all. Okay, if you want to create a bar chart, pie chart, donut chart, we can use this library. So a library is nothing but it will have a lot of inbuilt functions to perform a particular and specific task. Whereas a framework is much larger than a library. A framework, when we say a framework, it will have lot of libraries inside it. Okay, why React is called a library whereas Angular is called framework? This is one of the most asked question in interview. People will ask you why React is library, but Angular is framework. Hmm. When we say React is a library, React is mainly used to develop the UI component of a web application. React is missing with a lot of things. Only by using React, we cannot develop one application. What do I mean by that? Suppose we are using React for the front end development. What if there is a need to fetch the data from database? Do we have any inbuilt module in React to fetch the data from database? No. Then what we have to use? We have to use one extra library called Axios. Okay. We are using React for developing web application. We have a requirement to deal with form. Do we have any inbuilt module in React to deal with form? No, we don't have. What we do? We go and take help of Formic. We are using React. We have a requirement to implement routing. Do we have inbuilt module? No. What we have to use? React Router DOM. So for other things, we have to take help of different libraries. Yes, React does a specific thing. React does a very specific thing. Using React, we can develop the user interface of a web application. That is his specialty. We can use React for that. But how about other things? Other things like fetching data, form, routing, unit testing. For all these things, we have to use different third-party libraries. That is not the case with Angular. When you start using Angular, everything is there at a single place. You want to fetch data from API? Angular says, I have HTTP client module. Don't worry. You are using Angular to develop a web application and we have a requirement to implement routing. Angular says, don't worry, I have routing library with me. Angular has inbuilt form validation module. So almost everything we have in Angular. But in case of React, there are many things which are missing. It has a specialty. It is very performant. And using React, we can develop user interface components of a web application. For other requirements, we have to use third-party libraries. It is like comparing one grocery shop with a shopping mall. If I ask you a question, which one is better? Grocery shop is better. A simple grocery shop which is there next to your home, that is better, or shopping mall is better? React is a grocery shop which is there in your street. Angular is a shopping mall. If you go there, you will find everything that you want. You will find grocery there. You will find bakery items there. You will find vegetables there. You will find uh, electronic items there. You will find almost everything there. Okay. Yeah. It is like comparing one dentist with a multi-specialty hospital. Suppose I'm a specialized dentist. What I can do? I can only handle dental related problems. If somebody comes to me saying ki, hey, I have some ENT problem, I have some other problem, I will say ki, sorry boss, this is not my uh, what you say, this is not my area. You have to reach out to so and so person. Whereas If you go to a multi-specialty hospital like Manipal and all, you will find medicine specialist there, you will find dentists there, you will find pediatrician there, you will find everyone there. Okay, it's like you have everything at a single place. Hmm. Okay, let's get back to our discussion. React is a library. It is there in the market since 2013. Angular is a framework. It is there in the market since 2009. React is lightweight. Yes. And Angular is little heavier than React. Why? Because Angular has lot of inbuilt modules, form validation module, uh, HTTP module, routing module, everything we have inside Angular itself. Whereas React doesn't have those things. If you want, then only use. Otherwise, they are not there. If you create a simple hello world program in Angular and simple hello world program in React, the size, the project size that React is going to occupy and Angular is going to occupy, there will be a difference. React is lightweight, it loads faster. Angular is heavier than React. React uses JSX for content. If you want to create a table, you want to create a form, you want to add div, paragraph, for that we write JSX syntax, and mostly JavaScript for logic. Though React is supporting TypeScript also nowadays. Yeah, initially React was started with JSX and JavaScript. JSX and JavaScript is the good combination. In Angular, we use plain HTML. It looks like plain HTML. If I show you Angular code, this is plain HTML. You can see we have only H1, H2, H3 and all. If I go to carousel component.html, this is nothing but HTML. You can see this is HTML. If I go to categories component.html, this is plain HTML. Nothing extra. You copy paste any plain HTML code in Angular, it will work. Yeah. Then React supports unidirectional data flow, whereas Angular supports two-way binding. What is this unidirectional data flow or one-way binding? What is this Angular supports two-way binding? Let me quickly show you. Let me show you this. Yeah. So if we go and see here, give me a second. Is there any console error? Yeah. Okay. So let's understand what is two-way binding and what is one-way binding. This is the Angular project. In this Angular project, I have a file called data binding component.ts. Here we have a variable named Sachin Tendulkar. The same variable is printed in a input box. This variable is printed in lot of H4s. It is also printed in in one input box. So here we are binding the value from TS to HTML file. This is called one-way binding. If we will be able to change the value of that variable from here also from browser, this is called two-way binding. When I go and delete the value from browser, the updated value gets assigned to that variable. It means browser is able to, this HTML file is able to read the value from the variable from TS file and prints here on page load. After page load, we can change the value of that variable through this input box also. If this is supported, this is called a two-way binding. Here, if you go and change, nothing will happen because this is not a two-way binding. This is one-way binding. We are just printing the variable value here in this input box. If we go and change, this change is not going to that variable. It means whatever value we have in this input box, the same value we don't have in the variable. In plain HTML and JavaScript, what we do? We say document.getElement by ID input box 1 dot value. Then only we get the latest value. But in Angular, that is not the case. You keep on typing on the fly, the value will be collected and the value will be assigned to that variable. This is two-way binding and this is not supported in React. Then how are we achieving this? To achieve this, we write on key op in our input box. That is not required in Angular. Hope you understood. No need to understand everything, but yes, at least if you got an idea. React supports only one-way binding. It means if a variable is there, you can bind that variable's value in input box. But after the application loads, if you go and change in that input box, if you want your input box value always should be in sync with the variable value, then you have to write on key op and all in React. That is not required in two-way binding of Angular. Yes. Next, React has something called virtual DOM. Because of this virtual DOM, React is faster in performance than Angular. React provides better performance because of this virtual DOM. There is something called virtual DOM in React. I don't want to get into what is virtual DOM and all, but yes, because of that, React is faster than Angular, and we have to accept that. Performance-wise, React is faster than Angular because of this virtual DOM. But Angular people are also improving a lot to meet the performance that React provides. Angular has regular DOM, it doesn't have virtual DOM. Then the remaining are the limitations with React. React doesn't have its own module using which we can fetch the data from DB. React is dependent on libraries like Axios. Angular is not dependent on any library to fetch data from database. Angular has its own module, HTTP client module. Angular has something called dependency injection. React doesn't have that. Angular has its own form validation module. React doesn't have that. When we develop a web application, if we are choosing to go with Angular, no additional libraries are required. We get most of the things in Angular. We don't have to use any extra library. If you ask me a question, do you think Angular provides a module to print do not chat, bar chat and all? No, those are special requirements. Maybe for that Angular doesn't have any inbuilt module. But for other requirements like routing, form validation, API calling, these are very basic things. For them, we have inbuilt modules in Angular, but we don't have in React. So when we go with Angular, No additional libraries are required. Whereas if we go with React, we have to use additional libraries. Only React is not enough. Okay. Now the final question. Okay, Sanjay, you explain what is React, what is Angular for last 5-10 minutes. We don't want all those things. Finally, tell us which one is better. React is better or Angular is better? No. So let us understand. We can't say ki React is always better, Angular is always better. There is no such answer for that. We have to explain for what kind of application we should use React, for what kind of application we should choose Angular. If you ask me a question like which one is better, Scooty is better or a Thunderbird is better, I can't say. I'll ask you, boss, what is your requirement? I want to commute to my office, which is 2-3 kilometers away from my home. I want to use the same vehicle for grocery shopping, vegetable shopping. I will recommend please go with a Scooty. If you say ki, no, every weekend I would like to go for a long trip. Every weekend I would like to go to uh, Adiyogi. I want to go to Nandi Hills. I want to go to Mysore. Every weekend I go here and there, which is some 150 200 kilometer away from my home. I would recommend to go with Thunderbird, right? Yeah, it all depends on our requirement. Exactly. Now, for what kind of applications React should be used? For what kind of applications Angular should be used? Yes, React should be used for UI heavy applications. For UI heavy applications, React is better. What do you mean by UI heavy? If you think about W3 School, it can be called as only UI heavy application. Here we have hyperlinks. When I click hyperlinks, a page loads, we are reading the content. We don't have much of functionalities here, not complex functionalities, right? If we talk about Facebook, even Facebook can be considered as a small or medium application, small and medium website which has a lot of UI. UI means when we log into Facebook, what do we see? We see others post, blogs, messages, videos and all. We don't have very complex business logic there. So this is also a UI heavy application. If we talk about Twitter, Facebook, all these are full of user interface, right? For these kind of applications, we can use React. It is preferred to use React. Now don't ask me a question, can we not develop a Facebook like application using Angular? I never said that. I told ki for these kind of applications, React is better. If you ask me a question, can we not go to our office with a Thunderbird? Ayo, you can go bus, but Scooty is better. Can we not go to Nandi Hills with a Scooty? You can. If you want, you go. Who is stopping you? But everything has a purpose. The same way, when you are planning to develop a small application or medium application, your application has user interface, more of user interface, not more complex functionalities, not more complex business logic and all, go with React. Angular is best suited for functionality heavy applications. When we talk about functionality heavy application, yes, Flipkart can be considered as a functionality heavy application. We have lot of modules in Flipkart. We have lot of functionalities. We have search functionality. We have login logout mechanism. We have payment gateway integrated. We have whatnot. There are many things. Okay. So that can be considered as a functionality heavy application. For functionality heavy application, For larger applications, people prefer to go with Angular. Okay, people prefer to go with Angular, but for small applications, medium applications, people prefer to go with React. Or in simple word, if I say, if your intention is to load the application very fast, go with React. React performs better than Angular in regards to performance. If you want to use Angular to develop your website, you will get most of the things at a single place. Okay. For functionality heavy applications, go with Angular. For UI heavy applications, go with React. So did you get a idea now what is Angular, what is React, who is better? For what kind of application we should use Angular, for what kind of application we should use React? Now, if you have a question, you can raise your hand. I will be happy to answer. Yeah, I'll take a pause. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead with your question. Mahendra, you raised your hand. You have any question?
How many classes may be required to just to attend some basic understanding and to attend an interview for
So your question is, after how many sessions I will be
yeah.
eligible to attend interviews, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. So can you help me with your
Appropriate.
experience?
My experience is around 10 plus 12, and but not into the Angular with the .NET, with the C Sharp and HTML, and with the mobile Xamarin Forms. So website, I'm having idea with the web API.
Okay, got it. But I believe at least after some 40-45 sessions only you will be in a stage to go for interviews, because
Oh,
initial 10-15 days we will spend for JavaScript, right?
okay.
So if you say ki I will go for interview after 15 days, Angular is not yet started, right?
Okay.
Once we are midway with Angular or we are done some 60-70% with Angular,
Yeah.
you can prepare attending interviews. Hmm?
Got it, sir. Maybe it is out of the question, but I just wanted to
No,
mention.
no, that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. You are welcome.
Sir, what is meant by Axios?
Uh, uh, in simple word, I will say Axios is a NPM library. Okay, we use that library in React projects to fetch data from APIs, to fetch data from databases. Suppose you are developing a simple JavaScript application. How do you fetch data from database? Hmm? Are you a JavaScript developer? I think you are not audible. Okay, I think I answered your question. Vamsi, yes, please go ahead. Vamsi, you have to speak up. You people are raising hand, but you are not speaking. I don't know. Am I audible?
Days will took to complete Angular, sir.
Did you join late? Hello. The question is how many days it will take to complete Angular? I think this question I answered at least 2-3 times. Okay. Those who missed that slide, for them, I'm explaining it again. The course duration is 2 months. First 2 week we will discuss JavaScript. Remaining 5 to 6 weeks we will discuss Angular. So I hope you get an idea. Course duration is 2 months. Today is 9th of August. So by 9th of October, our training will be over. If it is not, maybe in the worst case, it will be extended by 1 week, not much. Class timing will be 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So please go through all these points. Yes, Mahesh has a question. Yes, Mahesh, please go ahead. You are raising hand, but you are not saying anything. I don't know.
So,
Yes,
sir, can you add any WhatsApp group for placement assistance?
yes. You will be part of Naricitis WhatsApp group, Telegram group. So if any opening comes, you will be notified.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Dasika.
What is the exact difference between the regular DOM and virtual DOM?
Okay. Okay. There is a question from someone. What is the actual difference between regular DOM and virtual DOM? Correct. Let me quickly explain. This is our application. When this application gets loaded in browser, whatever DOM tree you see, okay, in browser, whatever DOM tree we see, if you go to console and if you type document, this will give you a document object, which is nothing but a tree of nodes. You can see this is the root node. This root node has HTML. It has two more nodes, head and body. If you go to body, again you see some more elements and all, right? So this is nothing but called actual DOM. the nodes which are present inside our browser. Okay, this is actual DOM. So if we say document dot get element by ID, document dot get element by ID, is my screen not visible? It is visible. Document dot get element by ID something ABC dot inner text is equal to hello. So what it will do? It will go to your document, it will go to your browser DOM, which is actual DOM. It will find the element whose ID is ABC. For that element, it will add some text hello. So here, for every operation, your JavaScript code is going and fetching that element from actual DOM, which is present inside the browser, which is very expensive. Going and finding the element from the actual browser, changing something in the actual browser, this takes time. This is very expensive. But what React does, React maintains two copies of our DOM. One is always there in our browser, which is our actual DOM. React maintains one more DOM tree in RAM memory. Okay. React maintains one more DOM tree. Okay. What React does, React virtual DOM. So React always maintains two copies of DOM. One is real DOM, one is virtual DOM. This real DOM is nothing but which is present inside our browser. It creates one more DOM tree. Okay. That DOM tree React maintains inside memory, and whenever you say document.getElement by ID something, it goes and searches your element in the virtual DOM which is present in React's context instead of going and fetching those elements from the actual browser. Because of that, it saves some time to find that element. And this concept is not being used in Angular and other frameworks. Did you get some idea at least? It is very difficult to explain. It takes some time to explain, but did you get some idea what is real DOM and virtual DOM? 1 second.